Hey, what is up, you guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, hi. I hope you are doing well in this current situation of a world that we are still living in. I have a feeling we will be in this situation for a while, so might as well get used to it. Yes. Every week I like to sit down and just kind of chit-chat about a true crime case that has interested or intrigued me. So if you are interested, like me, in true crime, I highly suggest you subscribe and join this little weirdness that we have going on. This week is going to be a little bit different because for the last few weeks, or the last couple of weeks, I've been doing like a little mystery or murder in music mini-series, but I've decided to put that on hold because there are just some things that have been happening that need our attention. So with that being said, this week we are going to be talking about the brutal and senseless murder of Vanessa Guillen. Before I go any further, I want to give a disclaimer that I mean absolutely no disrespect to anyone that I talk about in these videos. This is all simply just information that I have found on the internet and decided to put all into one video. Yes. I'm also going to say that in this particular video, the details of what happened are extremely graphic, but I feel like they need to be told. I feel like everyone needs to understand what Vanessa went through. That way maybe we can avoid this same thing happening to another unassuming person in the future. I know that myself and a lot of the people throughout my social media feeds have been completely invested in this tragic and horrific case since it gained so much traction around the beginning of June, I believe it was. What happened to Vanessa is repulsive, it was senseless, and it should have never happened. It happened at a place where she should have been safe. A place where her family felt comfortable with her being there. A place where she felt proud to be. What happened to Vanessa painted a frightening picture for women in the military. So, who was Vanessa Guillen? At this point, we've seen her name attached to so many different hashtags and news headlines, but who was she before the hashtags and the headlines? Vanessa Guillen was a passionate young woman from Houston, Texas. She was born on September 30th, 1999 to Rogelio and Gloria Guillen, and she had 5 siblings. A very precocious kid growing up, Vanessa expressed interest in joining the military at just 10 years old. Once she got to high school, she knew that this was exactly what she wanted to do. She was really big on being active. She played soccer, loved to jog, stuff like that. So being in the military was really a no-brainer for Vanessa. But she wasn't just beauty and brawn, she was brains just as well. She graduated from high school in 2018 and was in the top 15% of her class. She took her academic life very seriously and knew what she needed to do to achieve her goals. Vanessa is described as a sweet girl who is extremely spunky and just super fun and easy to be around. The pictures you see of her are extremely true to the person that she seemed to be. After Vanessa graduated, she did what she had been talking about doing for years. She enrolled in the military and became a private first-class Army soldier. And at the time of her disappearance, she was working as a small arms and artillery repairer. She lived and worked at the Fort Hood military base in Texas, and this is actually the largest military base in the United States. According to friends and family of Vanessa, for about 3 weeks before her disappearance, she was just acting extremely odd and not at all like herself. They could tell that she was stressed, but nobody really knew what was going on. After trying to get some kind of answers out of her, Vanessa finally told her mother that she was feeling a little worried and honestly even a little scared because she was being sexually harassed by a sergeant at Fort Hood. She told her mom that she didn't want to report it because she had been speaking to other women that this same thing had been happening to, and when they tried to report it, nothing was done about it. So Vanessa really felt like this was a waste of time for her, and she was also scared to report it because she was worried about any type of retaliation against her if she did. Vanessa's mom was pretty much like, okay, just tell me who it is and I'll report it. But Vanessa told her that she would take care of it. She never got around to reporting this person, and in the end, Vanessa never even told her mother who it was that was sexually harassing her. But as of now, I think we pretty much know who that person was. I do want to say that victims of sexual assault in the military don't report the assault for a lot of the same reasons as victims outside of the military, like embarrassment, shame, fear. But with the military, it's a lot harder to separate someone's personal life and someone's professional life. And this lack of separation really creates a fear that if people find out what happened, that person is viewed as weak and unable to do their job. So think about how many Vanessas there are out there being harassed and assaulted while trying to fight for this country. Having to see your attacker every single day. Having to report to your attacker instead of reporting your attacker. In the Pentagon's latest report on sexual assault in 2018, 1 out of every 16 women in the military reported being sexually assaulted in the last year. 1 out of every 16. Lower ranking female service members between the ages of 17 to 24 were especially likely to be victims. Specifically to Vanessa, her family's attorney, Natalie Kwam, says that she has found at least 2 incidents where Vanessa was sexually harassed. One incident was when a sergeant walked in on her while she was showering and decided just to sit down and watch her. Another time when a superior was verbally assaulting her with vulgar remarks in Spanish. I'm guessing he decided that if he said something in Spanish that nobody would understand what he was saying. But, cool. So it is evident that Vanessa had reason to no longer be comfortable with her position at Fort Hood. According to officials at the base, Vanessa was last seen around 1 p.m. on April 22nd, 2020 at the Regimental Engineer Squadron headquarters on the military base. She was wearing a black shirt, light purple like yoga pants, and black Nikes. Her keys, wallet, and identification card were all found in the room where she worked. She was not originally scheduled to work that day, but was called in. We're still unaware of who called her in and why. She was going to be promoted soon, so she wasn't planning on leaving or anything like that. So they pretty much knew right away that this wasn't an AWOL situation or her leaving on her own accord. So let's go ahead and get into the timeline of the investigation over the following months. On April 23rd, the U.S. Army's Criminal Investigation Division, or CID, was notified that Vanessa was missing, and a witness came forward stating that they saw Vanessa leave the arms room where she was working at to go to another arms room that was controlled by 20-year-old specialist Aaron Robinson. She was headed to the arms room to confirm different serial numbers for weapons and other equipment. Cell phone records would later corroborate this because the last text message Vanessa would ever send was to Aaron Robinson. On April 24th, the Belton Police Department, the Belton Fire Department, and the Texas Department of Public Safety search an area along the Leon River and Farm to Market Road 317 after Fort Hood requested their help. The military base issued a be on the lookout to surrounding areas law enforcement. On April 27th, the CID offered an award of up to $15,000 for information leading to the whereabouts of Vanessa. This was later increased to $50,000. On April 28th, the CID interviewed Aaron Robinson. He told them that after he finished his work on April 22nd, he went to his off-post residence that he shared with his girlfriend, Cicely Aguilar, and did not leave for the rest of the night, except for around 6:30 p.m. when he had to go back to the base to sign into a government computer to enroll in some kind of training. On May 18th, investigators interviewed 2 witnesses who said that on April 22nd, the day that Vanessa went missing, they saw Aaron Robinson pulling a large tough box or pelican case out of the arms room where he worked. A tough box is pretty much this like large industrial type of crate. The 2 witnesses said that they saw Aaron wheel the tough box out to his vehicle, and they could tell that this box must have been pretty heavy because dude was struggling a bit. But eventually he got this box loaded into his vehicle and drove away. Suspicious. On May 19th, Aaron consented to a search of his cell phone, which shows that he made multiple calls to Cicely on the night of April 22nd into the early morning hours of April 23rd. Why you need to call her so many times if you're home with her? From this point forward, Vanessa's family is just completely beyond themselves, doing everything they can to get some kind of information, to get anything really. They protest outside of the Fort Hood base on June 12th, demanding answers about her disappearance. Vanessa's mother, Gloria, is quoted as saying, "I want my daughter back alive. I want her alive because she entered Fort Hood alive. And if, God forbid, my daughter turns up dead, shut down this base. That girl is my life. I adore her. That's why I'm fighting with nails and teeth until they return her and the guilty pay." End quote. On June 18th, it was announced that they would start an investigation into the sexual harassment that Vanessa received before her disappearance. So they only started an investigation of her sexual harassment after she had already been missing for 2 months, or almost 2 months, I'm sorry. Cool. Sounds like a great idea. Maybe if you would have done some investigating before that, she wouldn't have gone missing. On June 19th, Cicely Aguilar was interviewed twice by investigators. Remember how I said that Aaron made multiple phone calls to Cicely through the night of April 22nd into the early morning hours of April 23rd? Despite him being home all evening. At first, Cicely tried to explain this away by saying that Aaron had only called her so many times because she had lost her phone multiple times throughout that night. Which, okay, I get. Yeah, sure, it happens. It happens to me. It happens to everyone. But these calls weren't just seconds long, from the time it takes to start ringing to get to voicemail. These calls were like minutes long. She then decided to change her story and pull oh, that's right, we did leave. Because she knew that her GPS on her phone would have seen an inconsistency in her story, so she, I guess, decided that she needed to fess up. So she changed her story from "we stayed home all evening and I just lost my phone" to "yeah, we decided to take a long drive out to Belton, Texas to to go stargazing, to go look at the stars. That's what she said. She said that they went out to look at the stars, and that's why they left. Both of their cell phone records would corroborate this and place them at the Leon River the very day that Vanessa disappeared. I don't know what kind of fairy tale romance she thought that her and Aaron Robinson had, but this ain't it. We just wanted to look at the stars. Give me all of the breaks. On June 21st, the Army Criminal Investigation Division, the Bell County Sheriff's Department, and the Texas Rangers searched the Leon River in Belton, Texas, after GPS data from Aaron's phone indicated that it was in Belton, specifically on or around a bridge at 1:59 a.m. on April 23rd, before going north and remaining in the area for about 2 hours. You know, the same time that Aaron claimed to be home. They find the burned remains of what appears to be the exact same tough box or pelican case that Aaron was seen leaving Fort Hood with on April 22nd. They also smell decomposition, but they do not find any kind of human remains. But 6 days later, on June 30th, construction workers building a fence near the Leon River, the same place that had been searched previously, discovered what they believed to be human remains. When authorities searched the area, they found the scattered human remains that appeared to be placed into concrete and buried. So at this point, it is extremely obvious that Aaron Robinson and Cicely Aguilar have something to do with this. You know, like, human remains were found in the same place that GPS pinned them the same day that Vanessa disappeared. There is no way, in my mind, that this could have been a coincidence, right? No way. Eventually, the remains were identified as having belonged to Vanessa Guillen. So that evening, Cicely was interviewed by investigators yet again, but this time she told a bit of a different story. She told detectives that on the day of April 22nd, Aaron called her and told her what he had done. He told her that he completely bludgeoned a female soldier on base. After he killed her, he put her body in that tough box and brought her off base, taking her to the Leon River and leaving her there. He then went and picked up Cicely, and the two of them drove back to the Leon River. When they got there, Aaron opened the box and pretty much told her that he needed help in disposing of the body. And for whatever reason, Cicely agreed. At this point, they had only been together for like 2 months. Cicely proceeded to go into graphic detail about what they did to Vanessa. To properly dispose of her, they had to dismember her, and they tried to burn her, but decided against it because they were worried of being caught in case like the smoke like rose above the trees or whatever. You know, they didn't want to get caught. So instead, they dug 3 holes and put her in these holes. Literal psychopaths. Literal psychopaths. What Cicely does next really takes the cake for Psycho of the Year, in my opinion. After literally disposing of the body of a young soldier that her boyfriend brutally murdered, she made these Instagram posts. typos and all. Quote, "The most dangerous woman of all is the one who refuses to rely on you to save her because she was never a damsel in distress." End quote. A few days later, she made another post that said, quote, "He showed her the darkest part of him, and she said, 'Black is my favorite color.'" End quote. The fact that she didn't use like a black heart emoji is seriously bothering me. Every little thing about her seriously bothers me. The same day, she made another selfie post that said, quote, "I will not have you without the darkness that hides within you. I will not let you have me without the madness that makes me. If our demons cannot dance, neither can we." End quote. Girl, give me a break. You just disposed of a body. The body of a literal soldier. Like, are you kidding? Are you kidding me? She's over here thinking that her and Aaron Robinson have like this super cool Bonnie and Clyde style relationship. Like they have this crime tying them together in some sick and twisted way. Like thinking that this is going to make their bond more special and romantic, or I have no words for you, Cicely Aguilar. All while having these like photo shoots in a literal gas station stockroom. Like she does not love herself, like at all. He also told investigators that on April 26th, the two of them returned to the site where they buried Vanessa's body, this time with concrete that Cicely purchased on Facebook Marketplace. Such a class act. They proceeded to dig up Vanessa's remains, attempt to burn them again, and reburied them in the holes that they had just dug up, and poured the concrete over the top of her. They drove back home and burned their clothes and any other evidence that they may have had. So not only did Cicely help the first time, but decided to take it a step further and help yet again, all while acting like everything is totally normal and fine on social media, except for her really stupid captions that really infuriate me. Like a soldier just lost her life because of your idiot boyfriend, and you're still with him, posting about how you love his demons and love this and love that. Like, girl, you are a demon. Please. Like, you are dismissed forever. So at this point, Aaron is only a suspect and is being held in a room at the Fort Hood base, and he is essentially on lockdown. He was totally oblivious to the fact that Cicely had just outed them both to investigators, and when she called him and began talking to him about what happened and kind of going through everything with him, he just agreed to everything. You know, he didn't deny any part of it, and even told her, quote, "Baby, they found the pieces," end quote. So he was being held on base, right? You know, well, I guess Fort Hood isn't as secure as they may have originally thought, because somehow old dude escaped and left the base. I have a lot of issues with the security of the base. They wouldn't let Vanessa's family in the base to search for Vanessa, but they let the only suspect in her murder just escape. Okay. On July 2nd, he was found by authorities just walking down the street in Killeen, Texas, and when they approached him, he pulled out a gun and killed himself right then and there. He couldn't even handle the consequences of his own actions. because he was too much of a coward. That's definitely not the words that I want to use. I want to say something a lot harsher or a lot more harsh, whatever. But, yeah. Let's just go with coward because I would be censoring myself left and right. Cicely is being held at the Bell County Jail, and she's being charged with 1 count of conspiracy to tamper with evidence and 2 counts of tampering with evidence. She faces up to 20 years in prison for each count when she's convicted. Because let's face it, she will be convicted. She admitted to her crimes. Another bogus thing that she did is she pled not guilty even after admitting to what she had done, meaning now she has to wait for a trial. And Vanessa's family has to wait for the only kind of closure they'll be able to receive as far as justice against her attackers go. Because Aaron may have killed her, but to me, Cicely is just as demented. She brutalized Vanessa's body after she was gone, and to me, that's just as disgusting. Cicely has shown zero remorse for what she did, proving that she deserves to be in prison. Aaron was just a piece of literal walking garbage, in my opinion. When Vanessa's sister went to the base to try to search for her, Aaron approached her sister and laughed in her face about Vanessa's disappearance. I don't know what kind of person it takes to do that, but yeah. On July 1st, Vanessa was advanced from private first class to specialist for her time in the Army. Now, the question that's being asked by tons of people is, why did this happen? Why did Aaron Robinson feel the need to brutally murder Vanessa? The story that is being pushed is that while in the arms room, Vanessa saw a text message exchange between Aaron and Cicely. Cicely was actually married to a former fellow soldier, and while estranged, she was still technically married, and in the military, infidelity is a huge no-no. So in fear of Vanessa getting him in trouble and ruining his military career, he attacked her. I don't think that this was the case at all. She was already so iffy on reporting the person who was sexually harassing her. I don't think that she would have taken the time to report someone for something that didn't even involve her. What I really believe happened is that I believe Aaron Robinson was the one who was sexually harassing Vanessa. Her family's attorney would later name Aaron as the sergeant who walked in on her in the shower and just sat and watched her. I believe that she threatened to report him and that he could not let this happen. We don't really know his reasoning. It's all up for speculation, and he's not here to answer for that. But his next actions aren't up for any kind of debate. He proceeded to grab the weapon that was closest to him, which happened to be a hammer, and absolutely demolished Vanessa. He hit her in the head and the face multiple times with his hammer until she stopped breathing. In my opinion, this arms room would have been a bloodbath. How he was able to clean up this mess by himself is beyond me. It's one of the things about this case that honestly puzzles and confuses me the most, because the blood cast off from the hammer would have been extreme. Even if he had cleaned it up, had they done any kind of like luminol test on that room or anything like that, it would have lit up like a freaking Christmas tree. And they would have had some kind of answer a lot sooner than what they did had they done a better job at investigating the entire base. The Army really didn't even do much for this case until it started gaining some kind of traction on social media. It's almost like they just wanted to kind of forget about it and pretend like it didn't happen. Almost as if they wanted it to just kind of go away so they wouldn't have to deal with it. So many people speculate that the Army had a hand in trying to cover the whole thing up. We also still don't have the answer to the question of who called Vanessa in that day. Was it Aaron trying to lure her there, or was she called in by someone else just so this could happen? There are just so many unanswered questions to this, which shouldn't be the case because this happened on a literal military base. Like, things are supposed to be very strict and by the book. You're not supposed to have things just fall through the cracks like they did here. So because of all of this, the Guillen family is calling for a congressional investigation of Fort Hood. People are really believing that the base turned a blind eye to what was really happening right there on the base, because on July 2nd, Fort Hood released a statement stating that there was no evidence that Aaron Robinson ever sexually harassed Vanessa Guillen, even though she did tell someone that it was him who did. I cannot eye roll any harder or else my eyes will literally fall out of my head. He would not have randomly killed Vanessa had he not felt cornered or like his career was in jeopardy or anything like that. I think it's bananas crazy when someone gets so scared of getting in trouble for doing something wrong, so they just decide to pull the murder card and just kill the person, thinking that all of their problems are gonna go away, when in reality it causes so many more issues. Like, I don't compute. I don't understand that, like, at all. Recently, social media has been littered with the hashtag campaign I am Vanessa Guillen, where women and men share their stories of sexual harassment or sexual assault while in the military. Many are veterans who say they'd never share their stories before in fear of retaliation or shame, which is the same reason why Vanessa hadn't yet reported her harassment. You're supposed to feel safe while fighting for your country. You know, like your co-soldiers aren't supposed to be your enemy. Who do you go to when you can't trust your superiors? According to defenseone.com, sexual harassment and assault in the U.S. military is rampant, with no signs of change unless the way reporting is handled and investigated is massively changed. How can you expect a fair and unbiased investigation from military commanders who aren't trained in sexual assault responses or investigating techniques? The same commanders who are friends with the accused that they are investigating and have historically protected them from the consequences of their actions. Like, what? Remember that quote, "Do you really want to ruin a good man's career over this?" That's who's being protected. The abuser, the assaulter, the attacker is the one being protected instead of the victim. It's the victims who are paying the price, and it's the victims who aren't being protected. Vanessa's family and their attorney are pushing for change in the form of the I Am Vanessa Guillen bill, which would create an independent avenue for military members to report sexual harassment and assault. The family attorney, Natalie Coam, says, quote, "Our soldiers need an outlet that is independent, neutral, unbiased, and give them resolution that is not conflicted with the military because there is no relationship, end quote. Which I totally agree with. There are so many more Vanessa Guillens out there than we realize. At least 25% of women serving in the US military have been sexually assaulted, and up to 80% have been sexually harassed. I feel like a woman, or a man really, who wants to join the military shouldn't have to make sure that the fine print on signing day doesn't include sexual harassment or assault as an entrance exam into the military. I hope that this bill gets passed because it'll save a lot of people the fear of reporting their attackers or harassers. And if that's the case, then maybe some good would come out of Vanessa's brutal end. Vanessa is remembered as a strong and resilient young woman, and she loved serving this country and loved being a part of the military, and the military failed her. Vanessa's family is furious, and they want change. Vanessa's mom, Gloria, said that the Fort Hood officials were like clowns in a circus who had lied to her. I mean, if that's how you're running a whole military base, big yikes, man. Big freaking yikes. I'm going to link some petitions down in the description box for all of you guys to sign. I know I don't have a crazy huge following, but I feel like every little bit helps. And if it gets pushed enough, we may be seeing some kind of change sooner rather than later. It's just an awful thing that happened to Vanessa. She seemed like such a fun girl who, I can't stress this enough, she loved serving her country, and her country did not protect her. She loved serving this country. She was proud. She felt like she was actually doing some good. And it was all taken from her. She deserved so much more than what she received in the end. And I just hope that eventually her death does change the world somehow, so she wasn't taken in vain. I hope that because of what happened to her, more women and men feel confident and empowered enough to come forward and tell their story. This is the first case that I've covered that's actually like in recent days, so I've been totally invested in this case since the beginning, and as much as I had hoped that she was just hiding out somewhere for whatever reason, I knew deep down that this wasn't the case. I may sound like a broken record here, but we need change. We need women and men in and out of the military to feel comfortable and confident enough to report their attackers without fear of being retaliated against. Abusers need to be held responsible for their actions. We need to protect victims. I was looking online yesterday and I saw where a woman in Virginia was murdered by her rapist because he was released from prison amidst the pandemic. Had his sentence been taken seriously, he would still be in prison and she would still be alive. What do you think a proper sentence for Cicely would be? Life in prison, 20 years? Let me know down below in the comments. I feel like it takes a pretty twisted and dangerous individual to help this whole thing in the way that she did. And to go on and post, like on Instagram and social media without like a care in the world or, any lick of remorse, that's psychotic to me, in my opinion. She didn't care about Vanessa or what Aaron did to her. She just cared about herself and about her relationship with her stupid boyfriend. And that's it. I hope she gets whatever maximum sentence she's able to, considering Aaron couldn't be a man and face the consequences of his own actions, someone needs to pay for what happened here. And if anyone else knew about what happened or helped clean it up or whatever, if you had anything to do with it in any way and you're staying silent, you are just as guilty. So that is going to be it for me today, you guys. Thank you, as always, for joining us. I know that this one was a hard one to sit through. It was a hard one for me to talk about, but it is important. Don't forget to give this video a like if you liked it, and normally I never say this, but please share this video because Vanessa's story needs to be spread. The cause for change needs to be spread, and I may not have a huge following, but anything helps. So yes, please just share, share, share. And like I said before, I'm going to be linking those petitions down in the description box. Please sign the petitions. Let's try to make a difference in honor of Vanessa. So yeah, that's all I had to say, I think. So stay weird, stay safe, and stay rad, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.